it is written, only Link can defeat Ganon. Great! I'll grab my stuff!
Hey everyone, this is the TMG Podcast. It's Will here. This is a podcast about everything and anything gaming. I've got the usual suspects here. Got Carlos.
Hey.
And Migs.
Hello.
Hey, what's up guys? And we've got a pretty special episode this week. This is episode 8. We've got a guest.
Our first guest.
We've got a guest.
Yeah.
That's Mr. Russel Tomas from Dreamlords Digital. How are you doing, Russ?
Hi, I'm doing fine. Hi to everybody and to all your listeners and followers.
All right. So Russell's actually the CEO, I think, of DreamLords Digital.
Yeah, I'm the CEO and creative director, basically.
Right.
Awesome.
And you've got a Kickstarter ongoing now for your new game project, which is called Graywalkers Purgatory.
Yes, we do. We're actually live now on Kickstarter, and we're several days in, and we still have about 25 days to go till the end of the campaign.
Yeah, you guys started October 23, and it looks like it's going to end on the 28th of November.
We wanted to end on Thanksgiving, and hopefully we have something to be thankful about by that time.
But this is kind of pretty exciting. I think this is the first Philippine gaming Kickstarter, or maybe even the first Kickstarter at all.
On Kickstarter, yes, it is the first gaming attempt on Kickstarter. Though there have been other groups. No, actually there have been groups that went on Kickstarter, I think, or is it Indiegogo? But their targets were really low. The highest attempt for any Philippine-based Kickstarter was about 10K, I think, was the highest. And these were normally done by foreigners or Americans or some other foreigner who was actually in the Philippines at the time and running the campaign from here. But for gaming, I think we are the first, if not the first, we're definitely the biggest.
We're definitely the biggest, yes.
Yeah, we're definitely the one gunning for really high number. Yeah.
And actually, it's actually not that high of a number when compared to other gaming Kickstarter projects who are asking for like $300,000, $400,000.
Yeah, some are even hitting $1 million and stuff like that.
Yeah, we actually got that as a comment. Some people are wondering. They said based on what they've seen, we should be asking about 4 to 5 times of what we're currently asking. They're wondering how we can pull it off. So we had to explain that cost of development for people, especially in Manila or the Philippines in general.
It's completely different compared to the US.
Yes. Because we put there like 40%, 30 to 40% goes to the people, which is only like roughly $30,000 to $40,000. And they say, that's barely to get one guy. And I told them, well, yeah, in the States, but here that's going to be like a 10-man team for an entire year.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like, Go.
Yeah, speaking about development and stuff, like, why don't you tell us a little bit how you got into this, game development business? I know, like, for our listeners out there, actually, me and Russell used to work together.
Yeah.
Really?
At DME.
We used to work in DME.
Mobius Games.
In Mobius Games back in, I think the 07, 08, around that time.
Around 08.
What's that game I played in Mobius again?
Probably MU Online. That was
yes, that's such a grind. That was an amazing grind. Anyway, go ahead.
That was an amazing grind. But yeah, that's so. How did you get into the game development and a little bit about DreamLords Digital, like what your projects and how that got started as well?
Okay. Well, before I got into Mobius Games, actually, I already had a plan to come up with my own game. That was, after working on, I had a digital advertising company back then, and I eventually got tired. We were doing websites, below the line advertising, stuff like that. And eventually I got tired, and then I really wanted to go for something I really wanted.
That's dipping into the gaming industry.
Dipping into the gaming industry. So it's like, I want to do this. And then we realized back then that it was possible already. So I started doing research, and then eventually, I got into gaming. There was a lot of things that got into it, actually, that pushed me even faster and further into it. I told people I was planning to do an MMO, and I did some preliminary work on it. Then PLDT heard about it. They contacted me to supposedly build the Philippines' first MMO. But eventually,
PLDT was actually interested.
Yeah, this was before they bought
E-Games.
Before they bought this was before they bought Level Up.
Oh, right. Okay.
That long ago. Yeah, that long ago.
Oh, PLDT's with Level Up. Okay, that I didn't know.
Yeah, PLDT bought Level Up, and then Level Up merged with
IPVG.
Yeah, IPVG.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but that's many years down the line already. So, when this happened, this was prior to that, and they realized back then that we were going to be spending about $1 million to build the MMO, but so eventually they figured they weren't sure if we could do it at that time because, it was really unheard of.
This is around 2005 or so? Or
yeah, this was in 2005 or 2006, something like that. So it was really ahead of its time locally, but I was already doing preliminary work on it. And then I decided, I gotta get some more experience in the gaming industry. And that's how I got into Mobius Games.
Yeah.
Basically, I went to them. I said, "Can I do?" I asked if I want to work with them or something like that. It was supposedly a consulting gig, and then they decided they asked me if I wanted to work for them full time. So I said, "Okay, but just know that I am eventually going to leave to put up my own game company."
Okay. Yeah.
So I told them that, and they were fine with it. So I worked there for a year, learned what I could, and then for some reasons, eventually things happened, and then eventually I moved on.
Yeah, okay. I actually know the reasons for that, but let's not get into that.
Let's just not get into that. So let's say
okay.
Things happened, and it was good in a way because it pushed me to move further and into what I really wanted. So I started researching again after that, and eventually started playing around with programming more. And then I met up with this one guy who we started doing preliminary work on the prototype. And then
at this point, was it still an MMO concept at this point?
It was still an MMO concept at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, because
that's pretty interesting. Graywalkers Purgatory was actually an MMO. I mean, that was the first idea in your head. Is that right?
Or was it even Graywalkers yet at that point?
That's not exactly true. What we have now, Graywalkers Purgatory, as it is now, is actually the first idea.
Okay.
Yeah, because back then, the reason we became an MMO was because nobody would be interested in a turn-based game.
That's true, and this is back in the day when MMOs were really big.
Really big. Yeah, they were the biggest thing back then. So
they were like
06.
MMO.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people would say, okay, maybe. It's a maybe. If you said like turn-based games, it will be an automatic no. And I think everybody knows this, especially even all the old veterans who are now popular now again, knew back then that no publisher would touch turn-based games.
Right, that's true.
So we decided, okay, if we want to get this idea out, let's go for the most popular thing. Of course, it was the most difficult thing as well, which was an MMO.
Yeah.
So, but I'm a brave guy, so I said, okay, let's do it. So we started putting together some stuff, and eventually, I think in 2010, I found a guy, Ferdinand Fernandez. He is my CTO now. But basically, what happened was me, him, and our investor, Terry Davis, we got together and we built our first iPhone game, our first mobile game. The reason for this was we figured, let's start small, let's get our feet wet.
Okay.
And at the same time, during that time, we said, this will get us in front of everybody because at that time, there were no iPhone games or iPad games or Android games from the Philippines.
Right.
So when we released, we were again the first.
I think your competition, well, not so much competition, but back then the Philippine game industry as a whole was mainly outsourced for mobile games or web-based titles.
Right.
Outsourced for like art and then like Facebook games.
Right.
Or even
iOS.
even those little Flash games that you get on like as advertising.
When the Flash was big.
Flash was big back then. Yeah.
Back then. What was the game that you released? The iPhone game you were mentioning a while ago?
It was called Zombie Fields. When we released it, it was in Feb 2011. So when we released it, it was the first IP owned, or shall we say, we published an IP. When you say IP, it's basically you own the rights. You're not doing outsourcing.
Yeah.
So for those who are not familiar with it, so yeah, we were the first who did that. Then immediately after we did it, suddenly 3 months down the line and onwards till today, suddenly all these games started popping out. So we managed to get in at the first. So we've used that as our, shall we say, our push for the company to get more known.
Okay.
Yeah. So it worked. Fast forward from that point to now, well, to about 6 months ago, for about a year and a half to almost 2 years, we ended up doing a lot of projects, but these were not our own titles. These were titles that people came to us to do.
Okay.
We ended up becoming an outsourced group as well, because eventually all these groups were saying, hey, we want you to make this game, make this game, make this game. So we're like, hey, we suddenly are going to make money from making games.
From making games.
So we're like, at that point, I told my guys, okay, let's just do this, for the sake of the money. Then let's do what we love later down the road. But that was the plan. Unfortunately, we got sucked in,
Okay.
Yeah, we got stuck in doing a lot of it.
So it was like you had so much work already that you had no more time at all to put towards what you guys really wanted to make.
Yeah, we grew fast. In about a year and a half, we went from 3 people to almost to 25 full-time people and another 15 freelance people and another dozen interns.
That's amazing, actually, for a year. Yeah.
Yeah, for a year and a half. That was the speed of the growth. Now, the problem was, it was overwhelming. Something like that. We had like 8 games lined up to be built, most of them mobile. But eventually, the people, especially the people who were there initially, the ones who joined for the sake of making the game, unfortunately, they started getting low morale because everybody was tired doing the stuff we were doing, and they were not fun. They were not fun titles.
Yeah, I can understand that, especially when it's not something, that you're really passionate about. It might be something as dumb as a
Candy Crush,
Farmville, or Candy Crush, whatever. Yeah.
It essentially became a job,
It became not only just a job. It was really not a happy job already at that point. Not only for me, but also for everybody else. And then we realized the money that seemed great at the start because we were a small group was okay, but when it grew to that size, even though they're paying us, there were a lot of other incidental costs that comes with running a team that big. Suddenly we had to get a big office. Suddenly we had to get all these units. Suddenly we had to get all these licenses,
So many things were happening all at once, even for like a small country. Because like you said, that's actually a really fast growth for a year.
A year and a half.
A year and a half. Yeah, that's actually that's impressive. At the same time, I'm sure really stressful.
It was.
And
it is.
I guess this is like your pushing point to do what your studio wants to do, which is Graywalkers.
Yes.
Purgatory. Like this is what you guys are passionate in doing.
Yes, this is our first salvo. Actually, this is our biggest. I guess this is our biggest gun in our armory of titles that we're going to be releasing. We do have a lot of titles lined up, titles that we started working on but never got to release. We decided that we'll start with this. Let's go big. Anyway, there's really no cost except a lot of work to it.
And I guess buti na lang that Kickstarter kind of came along and the crowdfunding thing sort of happened because
it was
because Kickstarter just blew up. Like there's so much projects being green-lighted, and there's so many games that are actually being actual indie titles, games just from crowdfunding, and it's becoming it's a buzz thing now. Like the whole crowd.
It is a buzz thing right now. And speaking of Greenlight, we just got on Steam Greenlight today. So hopefully we will...
Wow, congratulations. That's actually pretty cool.
No, we're just still there. We just got up and now we're going to wait for our green light. But so far it's been good. We've only been 3 hours, 4 hours. We're already 2% in already to our goal. So hopefully it pushes through. Then we were hoping that the people from Steam will be interested in the game in Kickstarter and fund it, So.
So this will also possibly be out on Steam if ever.
Yes. It will be on Steam, definitely. Assuming we get greenlit by Steam, we will get it out on Steam. Anywhere where PC is gonna come out, we are gonna come out. And I don't know if you know also that once we release on PC, we'll also be releasing the game on mobile tablets. But that's after we released it on PC, of course.
Okay, so you're having this real multi-platform push for the game. That's fantastic.
Is this going to be like mobile platform PC, and are you guys going to instantly go for a Mac version or?
Automatically for PC we're coming out on Windows, Mac, and Linux.
Okay, cool.
Even Linux. Okay,
that's something. The beauty of we're a big proponent of Unity. I don't know if you've heard of it. Unity is basically one of the fastest growing game engines in the world right now, and they have the biggest following. And they are a very powerful engine, and it allows us to deploy to many platforms pretty easily, actually. That's why when we deployed on PC, the only thing we have to worry about when we deploy on the other platforms is to optimize it for those platforms. So actually, sizing and speed.
I'm looking at my notes here. You actually built zombie fields on Unity as well, right? Is that correct?
Yes,
right.
we built it on Unity as well. Well, Unity back then wasn't popular yet, but we already saw what it could do, and we were really very much into it. So we were one of the first movers locally to use Unity. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
I hope we actually find more studios like yourselves to actually grow the
industry here.
The industry here, because from what I'm seeing, we have a lot of talent here in terms of artists.
Oh, definitely.
Programmers, because there's a reason why they're outsourcing us. Like, there's a big reason why they're outsourcing.
And it's AAA games.
Yeah, AAA games. And then, like, I don't know, we have also designers working for Pixar and Disney or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of animation as well for Cartoon Network, whatever.
Yeah, there's just a lot of talent here. There's a lot of possibilities here.
Russell, tell us a little bit about the Graywalkers universe, because this is going to be Purgatory is the first game in a series of games that take place in this universe. So, tell us a little bit about how you came up with the concept for the universe.
For Graywalkers.
For Graywalkers, and maybe a little bit for those who haven't played your video on the Kickstarter. We'll provide a link later, but a little bit about it as well.
All right. Well, the concept for Graywalkers it's been around for like 15 years.
Yeah. I remember seeing the first time you showed it to me.
Yeah, it's been longer than that. Actually, it was I came up with the concept for Graywalkers in 94 or 90. No, 94 or 92.
So this is actually literally a dream project for you.
Yeah, it is a dream.
This is actually okay. This is it. This is the game.
This is one of the main games, because this was supposedly a graphic novel I was doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So originally it was a graphic novel before it was anything else.
It was meant to be a graphic novel. This was the time when I was in comic books in the mid to late 90s, when we started out the Alamat and all the other high quality local comic books. We basically started that trend. We were the first. We were a bunch of studios put together by Will Sportacio, and basically they formed us in the image of Image back then.
The image, okay.
The image of Image Comics, Will Sportacio, Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane.
Oh, okay.
They were called
wild.
Image.
That's wild names.
Just for those who don't know, Will Sportacio is a famous comic book guy. I think he done work on The Punisher, X Factor, X-Men, I think, actually.
Yeah, X-Men. He created Bishop. There's a lot of different titles as well.
He created Bishop?
Yep, he created Bishop.
Wow. Okay, wait, no, sorry. That's crazy for me.
And then he was the one who made Wetworks, I think, as well,
yes,
right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god, a Filipino created Bishop.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's good info for me.
Yeah. From the group that came, from our group, which was Alamat, it's our group that all the greats right now came from. Like you have Kajo, Linil Yu, Budget Tan, all these Arnold Are, all the top comic book guys now all came from that group. So we're all, 15 years ago we were all budding kids, and now we're like all doing our own thing. So, but I'm the only one I think who went into gaming. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, but so that's where it started. The the graphic novel never got made. But when I decided to make the MMO, I went back to it and started making the world. Originally, the story was a graphic novel is about a modern day story, which happens. Well, back then, basically whatever timeline was then. It was talking about 2012. This was before this 2012, but back then it was it was still unknown. 15 years ago, nobody knew the concept of 2012, and that was the premise of Graywalkers.
And nothing happened.
Did you pick 2012 specifically because of the whole Mayan calendar thing?
Yes,
I guess?
back then we used that back then because it was pretty interesting then.
Yeah.
Of course, in hindsight now, it's like, yeah, right.
And then nothing happened, and all the movies that actually were based on that, I'm like, well, it's out already, so.
Yeah, that's why even now with our description, we don't mention it's because of the Mayan calendar anymore. We just say, 20 years later in 2032, this is when the story happens, which is technically, if you go back 20 years, it was 2012. So,
okay.
But we don't say it anymore, because it's kind of passé. So, what we did was, the story progressed. The game now is 20 years in the future of that story in the graphic novel. What happened was they failed, and the failure, this is the result.
So
the original Graywalkers at that time failed, and what happened is 20 years later, this is this new story. Yeah.
Okay, so this whole story is pretty much if you correct me if I'm wrong, like the setting is pretty much heaven and hell. Having Earth as a little playground.
What happened? Something like that, but it's not like it wasn't meant. The story, well, we're going to reveal it later on, but the idea was heaven and hell were pulled out of their areas and merged forcibly with Earth. Now, who did it? Well, that's a mystery.
Okay, that's part of the, yeah.
Yeah. But basically, somebody forcibly merged Earth with heaven and hell. So as they merged, the parts that merged with Earth displaced a lot of those lands. Of course, let's say Metro Manila, a piece of hell went here. Of course, Manila had to go somewhere. Makati. Actually, I don't know if you guys seen some of the posters. The city in the background, that's actually Makati.
That's awesome.
So those places get displaced all around the globe. A large chunk of the lands that got displaced were all formed together into what is called Purgatory. They were all pulled in together in the Bermuda Triangle. I basically thought of it like it acted like some sort of spiritual net. So it like started catching all these really powerful locations and it put it there. So, of course there are other places out in the other parts of the world, but it all meshed it there. And that's where the story of Graywalkers Purgatory happens. It introduces that land, which incidentally becomes the last refuge of humanity. Because most of the world goes through war, the Trinity War, I called it. It's between man, angels and demons.
Heaven and hell.
So,
angels and demons.
Because even heaven, technically, though they were allies, they were not united with, because they were still angels. They do not look at humans as equals.
Okay, so wait, maybe you can expand on the whole concept of Graywalkers? Like, for example, what are Graywalkers are technically, like a description
what
of
is a
Graywalkers?
Greywalker exactly?
A Graywalker, well, initially, Graywalkers is what we call the people who were caught who walked the line between darkness and light, which is basically humans who were involved in that war. Through history, our story begins 2,000 years ago upon the birth of Christ.
All the way down there.
All the way down there. It goes back, the legend of it starts from the three Magi, or we basically know them better as the three kings.
Okay. So it's like a bloodline kind of thing. Like it's the Graywalkers are pretty much like
No, actually, not quite. There is a legend. I merged two legends basically together that they're not necessarily connected, but I merged them. There is a legend. It's a Jewish legend actually called the 36. There are 36 individuals at one time across the world who is meant to protect the world or move it forward. basically from its, basically they prevent the end or whatever their version of what is called the end from happening. So, in history, this would be people who would be catalysts in changing the world or making new things, discovering new things, geniuses, warriors, all of these people from all across time, since time immemorial. They were all around. They were making things happen for the world to continue. And then I merged it with the idea that, after the death of Christ, the three kings, I don't know if you've read the legend of it, God supposedly sent them a vision to go and basically visit Jesus upon his birth. But I expounded on that. Not only were they supposed to look at him, they were supposed to protect him until he would fulfill his role. Which, if you do check on the story, they did. They actually lied to Herod, and I connected them. Christ had a gap between 12 and 30 something. Yeah. Which he disappeared from the world, and suddenly he comes back with all this knowledge, wise and everything. In my story, the three kings were the ones who basically, he was with them and guiding him and teaching him, showing him the world, showing him everything he needed to know, and protecting him at the same time, till the time that he had to fulfill his role. So think of the three magi as watchers. And upon the completion of Christ's role in saving humanity, they were given a further role, which was to continue that task, which was to continue protecting those that would protect the world, and they would be their guides. So from now, history and then, and that's what they called the Graywalkers. Because they would always remain between heaven and hell. Yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. So there's a lot of influence, obviously, from real world sources here.
Yes.
That's actually pretty amazing. Like, you really thought about this. Like you covered, it's this story or this environment actually 15 years, and it's like, from what I'm hearing, like, you really thought about it, and it's actually pretty cool.
Can we talk a little bit about the aesthetic of the game? Because I'm looking at some of the screenshots. There's a bit, I get a lot of this very Fallout sense from it. So,
it's post-apocalyptic now. So yeah, there's definitely a very strong sense of Fallout. But
like aesthetic influences when you were designing the characters or the environments and things like that?
Well, okay. In terms of aesthetics for the characters, I think I wanted to create characters that were not too gray. I think the problem with post-apocalyptic characters is they're always very gray or dull.
Well, the color is pretty much like brownish.
Gray or brown, right?
Yeah.
Brownish, yeah.
I didn't want to go that way.
Dull.
I didn't want to be Mad Max. I wanted to create a new sense of what post-apocalyptic would be now. Because obviously when Mad Max was cool, it is still cool, but they came from the point, this is the 70s, this is the 80s, and this is what post-apocalyptic will be based on what it was in the 80s. I wanted to create a post-apocalyptic world that would be based on the 21st century. Like, how do people dress up now? Well, obviously a little bit on the edge, but if you think about it, the colors would be different, the clothes would be slightly different, though there are some that recur, since fashion always, shall we say, goes around. We made sure actually fashion and style is a part of it. There's a lot more. Many of the characters have not been shown yet what they really will be wearing. These are just rough sketches. These are just our preliminary designs.
Right.
Which they look amazing, by the way.
Thank you. My artist did a very good job at translating the ideas into paper or digital paper in this case.
And actually, you wouldn't think it's a post-apocalyptic game just from the characters, because they are quite colorful. It's very colorful indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't want to go to a very dark place with a post-apocalyptic world. We wanted to have that contrast wherein the world is dark, very, very dark. In fact, if you look at the world, it's really bleak. But that's why the idea is, I don't know if you watched the trailer. Basically, you guys are the light, the source of light left in the world, and from you will start the spark that will grow that light again. Parang ganun that's basically the idea there. So I wanted that the characters themselves would be colorful, and not only colorful physically, but as personalities as well.
Alright, cool. So I think we're about at the halfway point of the podcast. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Russell to talk a little bit more about Graywalkers in a couple of minutes.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
So,
cool.
And we're back.
Yeah, we're back for like a little quick break.
And if you're joining us, we're here with Russel Tomas from DreamLords Digital, and he's talking to us about his Kickstarter project, Graywalkers Purgatory.
Yep.
What's the genre? Like, if I have to say, what's your genre? Like, how would you explain? How would you describe
that's a good
Graywalkers?
point. Actually, it's a very long description, but I think if you go to the
I know. Yeah.
if you go to the base genre, in terms of the story, it's post-apocalyptic. Well, I call it it's supernatural post-apocalyptic, to give that distinction. In terms of gameplay, it's primarily a turn-based game, but there is one thing that we put in that's what makes us different from every turn-based game out there. We put in emergent strategy gameplay.
That's what I wanted to ask you. What exactly do you mean by emergent strategy? Yeah.
Well, it's my partner is one of the better ones who explained this, but I'll try to recreate what he said. The idea for emergent is this. It came from the idea that this happened when, for example, let's say in Skyrim, you go and get rid of all the food in the town, and then you leave. Normally, if you got all the food in the town, the question is, why didn't the townspeople die? There was no more food.
Oh, so you're talking about the things that you, like the little things that you actually do will actually sort of have a little bit of an effect.
Not only a little bit. Here, basically as a player, what you do affects not only is there a direct effect on what happens to them as a result of what you did, it also changes what the group will do. So, for example, in the game, let's say there's a small village, okay, which the village will have its own AI saying, we need more food. So what do? Is they create a quest. A quest is generated saying, we need more food, but to get that more food, we need to plant farms. But to plant farms, we have to clear this area. It so happens that area will have wolves. So they will generate a mission saying, kill the wolves. So you kill the wolves. Let's say you get the mission, kill the wolves. Now the wolves are killed, you leave. You come back a day, 2, 3, 4 days later, there's now a farm where you kill those wolves. So you see, it's a dynamic world. Yeah, you will actually see the world change and happen. This is actually been done with a game already. It's called Mountain Blade. I don't know if you've
heard of that. But I'm actually getting a lot of vibes of Ultima Online here, because that game also had a similar.
Yeah, but as an MMO, it wasn't.
But yeah, I'm also getting that vibe of the whole concept of, it's also in the online games, dynamic quests where your result or what you do you'll see the actual effects. Like for example in Guild Wars 2, where you do a quest, the town is saved, but if you don't do it, no one does it. All of a sudden, the whole town is just in flames.
Yes, something to that effect, but even more so because like in MMOs, most of those effects are actually in the sense you're saying what happens if you do this, this happens. If you don't do this, this happens. In what we're doing is it's all procedurally generated, meaning it's all random.
Oh, so you're gonna have a system where it randomly generates.
It randomly generates what it's.
Is this gonna be like a side quest in the game, or this is actually gonna be the?
The weird thing is what we're doing is that is like it's gonna be the backdrop. So it's like playing, let's say, Civilization, but instead of playing you, the guy controlling the entire civilization, you are basically that unit on the ground doing all these things and changing things.
Okay.
And so you could have a situation where, like, you clear the wolves out, you come back 5 days later, there's a farm, but then you leave again, and you come back another 5 days later, and then
the wolves are showing up. The wolves are back.
That is possible. And that is possible. And what we've done is the plan is this will be very strongly implemented with the factions, because there are many factions in the world of Graywalkers. So they may end up fighting each other as a backdrop. So you are constantly doing all these things, and you have to adapt. So you have your main story, but in between that, there's all these things happening, and that will change.
Okay.
I don't know if
this is still a turn. So this is a turn-based game with what you were saying, the immersion. That word. That's pretty much the
core,
the genre, or the core genre.
The core genre. But like I said, the emergent part is what makes it different, because the why of everything you do is suddenly random and dynamic.
Okay, so maybe you can explain more about the gameplay, because where it's turn-based. Can I compare it to, for example, XCOM?
Yes, actually,
like XCOM, or even, I don't know, like console-based, like, can I say Final Fantasy Tactics?
Well, not so much Final Fantasy, but I guess it's also turn-based, so it's close enough. But
or like a real-time.
The 3 games that inspired us, and we actually claim it on our Kickstarter.
Yeah, I saw it,
The 3 games that inspired this game is my favorites, which is XCOM.
Dang it, so now.
Classic Fallout, the classic Fallout series, and Jagged Alliance.
Oh, you're saying classic, you're not saying 3.
Yeah,
you're not saying 3.
I like 3, but it's not the same game anymore. Of course.
Yeah, it's Fallout 1, 2, and Fallout Tactics, I think.
It's a world of bugs.
Fallout 1, 2, and Tactics. And then you have Jagged Alliance.
Okay.
Those 3 games merged together is what we feel on the tactical side, what Graywalkers Purgatory is. Actually, we even included their Baldur's Gate, a little bit of Baldur's Gate, and a little bit of Arcanum as well. But I think those 3 are the core games that influence a lot on how the game was built.
Oh, that's actually another question I want to you said Baldur's Gate. Are we going to have a seamless transition from combat and into like you exploring the world?
Yes, actually.
Like how's that going to be? Like all of a sudden your units and then the enemies that you're going to face are strategically placed already.
Okay.
Once you encounter them, or
let me explain from the top level, but it'll be easier. Okay, you start the game. You are on a top map. Let's say you see the map of the city.
Okay.
And then you see your units your teams represented by avatars or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you give them their task where they're gonna go, and they go. And then if you want to see where for example, you move to this city or this town or this area, and you click it, you will go into what we call Areascape, which shows you like you're playing, let's say, it's like playing Fallout. It's them inside the city, you're moving them in real time.
Okay.
The moment combat occurs, like something happens and then, combat occurs, it switches to turn-based. So, all the basic...
Oh, it's on the fly, like all of a sudden you see grids.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
The grids won't show up unless you want to do stuff. But by default, you can have the grid show up. It goes into that mode wherein everything starts moving by turns already.
Oh, okay. That reminds me of Shadowrun. That recently came out.
You Shadowrun.
Yeah, that greatly reminds me of that game that just came out.
And that gameplay actually goes back to Baldur's Gate. That gameplay was originally in Baldur's Gate.
So are we gonna get like a D&D roles in terms of like the technical side?
I actually created an entire tabletop gaming system for this.
That's pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
So this is a different project for me, but since I'm doing 2 projects, I might as well merge them into one.
Oh, okay.
The tabletop RPG, I created this. Like I've been creating it slowly for the past few years, also on the side, because I'm a big avid tabletop RPGer and GM actually. So for all the RPG games that we'll be building, we'll be using the system I built as the basis for resolution for everything in the game.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. When it comes to the gameplay, your project mentioned action points. So that's what strongly resembles XCOM for me. Like pretty much your movements and then your I don't know, whatever you do technically in the combat based on action points. So it's definitely like XCOM where when you crouch, you see your action point go down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, like for example, if you watch a gameplay video, you take your character, you do an action, even the grid that you cover goes down.
Yeah.
It shows you how far you can move with the current action points that you have.
Okay.
So as you use it, it keeps on getting smaller until you have nothing left, that you can't go anywhere. So it automatically calculates how much you have left of where you can go, basically.
I see.
Is there going to be like Fog of War? Because that's the one thing I did not see in the
there is
in
a Fog
the
of War.
demo. Like you can't see you just like a field of vision of each of your characters. Are we going to see
there is
that?
a Fog of War. Actually, the default is a Fog of War. We just took it out for the sake of the video.
Oh, for the demo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question regarding the character creation. So obviously this is squad based, so you're creating more than just one character. That's
No,
correct.
actually you're only creating one.
Oh, only one. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the NPCs like the Graywalkers that you meet.
You have to recruit.
Okay.
In fact, that is part of the main quest. The story is your goal is to find the 35 other Graywalkers. Only by completing it. Yeah, because you have to complete the 36 because prophecy says that only when you have all 36 will you have enough, normally the greater the danger, the more of the 36 that you will need. And in this case, you definitely need all of them to even have a chance of winning. Parang ganun.
So that's technically the primary goal for this campaign.
That is one of the primary goals, yes.
But you don't have the ability to say, let's say you recruit someone, but then he levels up. You can change, put his points where you want to put them.
Yes. You cannot choose who he is, but you will determine who he becomes.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
like,
is there a limit?
Dragon Age
Is there a limit to how many people you will have in the party at any one time?
Do you have a cap already? Like, are you gonna have 5 for the game?
We have a cap. Well, per team you have maximum of 6. And for the number of teams, we're capping it at 6. Actually, I'm already arguing about that because I want it to keep it 6, but my developer's like, maybe that might be too much. Or like, so it's one of those things that are still in flux. But I told him there has to be at least 36 minimum on the field if it needed. So that's the target.
Okay.
This is reminiscent actually of Jagged Alliance. That game allows you to have multiple teams simultaneously on the same map. And that's where that inspiration for that comes in. Normally, you'd need only 1 or 2 teams because most of the things they fight are normally people. In this case, because I see it's like a mini raid. If you're fighting like a big baddie and you only have 1 team, no matter how powerful, you're gonna get your ass kicked.
Okay, so, yeah, I get it. That's pretty cool actually. So obviously all these different characters you can recruit have their own personalities and things like that.
Yes.
Will there be going back to Baldur's Gate or Fallout? Will there be a romance system? Will there be a relationship system where you can
actually yes? That's a good question.
Are we going to see like a whole Mass Effect deal? Are we going to see a whole
well, not the level of Mass Effect.
Some weird, controversial sex scene that we might see towards the end or something like that?
I would love to do that. I would love to do that, but unfortunately, I don't.
I think one of your races is like what, a demon, wolfkin?
Yeah, wolfkin.
That's controversial, really, like a human and a wolfkin.
You could make it a stretch goal, like add sex scene.
Controversial sex scene if we hit this much, okay.
Well, yeah, but I'm sure my mother will probably curse me if I do that.
I'm sure.
But the point, I guess, and there will be relationships. In fact, we got this also from Jagged Alliance, which was a lot of that's based upon. If you take 2 guys who hate each other in the same combat, there is a chance that you will make friendly fire.
I see.
Accidental, open close quotation, friendly fire.
Yeah, this really strongly resembles XCOM because I can't remember how many times I killed my own men.
Yeah. But XCOM never had a relationship thing. It was just more like your stupidity or.
Well, I had a relationship with them. Like if they died, that would be so sad.
Yes.
But, I get what you mean. Yeah, okay.
We have that. We are definitely going for permadeath also in this case.
Oh wow!
Awesome.
We're planning to have an Iron Man mode, which is basically you cannot save in the middle of your combat. There will be 2 difficulties, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I hope turn-based games or actually tactical games actually more implement. Because so far it's just XCOM implementing it or
I think a lot of the new ones are starting to implement permadeath.
Yeah, because I love that stuff. It's really
it makes you more connected to your characters.
Yeah, like exactly. Losing your maxed out sniper and then you just feel sad after. We'll stick back to with the combat. Is there environments in the combat? Is it gonna be a big role? Are we gonna see like red barrels that we can actually
blow up or
blow up or
cover system?
There will be a cover system. In terms of destructive environment, not so much, but there will be specific There's specific items, I guess, and structures that are meant to be destroyed. Like, for example, walls. Of course, walls won't get destroyed by random gunfire. It's gotta be, they can only be destroyed by specific,
grenades
methods.
or something like that.
Yeah, something, like no matter how much you shoot at the wall, it's not gonna crumble. But
this game's actually gonna be like guns,
guns and magic,
melee, magic and fireballs and I don't know, meteors falling down.
It's all up
Like-
together basically.
like
It's a modern
modern
fantasy.
fantasy
Yeah, it's
there.
modern fantasy.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty cool. With the characters, are we gonna have some voice acting?
We are
For, like-
targeting voice acting. We really want voice acting for this. We've already talked to some people in the US who handles this kind of thing.
Okay.
A friend of mine that I met during GDC, and we've been talking for quite some time now. So if this pushes through, they will be helping with the voice acting for a very affordable sum. And at the same time, we'll be doing our own voice acting here for if we could actually find and then get them to do the critical ones. But the simpler ones, we can probably do those here.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's gonna be a part of the initial goal of your project. It's not gonna be a stretch goal.
No,
or is
no,
it-
that is part of the initial goal. In fact,
Okay, cool.
I think, 10% of our money will go to that. So that's about $500,000, $10,000. It's not much, but one of the things we were hoping to, shall we say, save a lot of money from one of the initiatives that we started. I don't know if you saw it, but I mentioned their crowd content. Yeah, that is a new thing. That
Maybe you can expand on that.
yeah. Crowd content is what we call it crowd content, but it's basically the same as what they call crowdsourcing. But it's the next level. We're bringing it to the next level. Crowdsourcing was experimented on by Brian Fargo, the guy who's doing Wasteland 2 and Wasteland 1, of course.
Mm.
And Lord British just recently started doing that as well for his project.
See, Richard Garriott.
Yes, Richard Garriott, yes. The idea is they will get the community to share content. But in this case, it's been mostly 3D content. In our case, we're expanding it. We're going to allow people to contribute art, music, sound, 3D.
Oh, we're talking about the whole
animation,
asset,
the
like
whole
every single asset.
Yes, every single asset. We will give them the guide. They can donate it. They will get an appropriate reward for the total donations they make in terms of content. And at the same time, they will get the proper recognition.
Is this going to be like you're going to provide them with a content builder,
Yes.
or is
No, we will just provide them with the content guides. So, for example,
Oh.
our
So it's actually
models-
like Steam Workshop, in a sense.
In a sense, yes.
Okay.
In a sense, yes. But yeah, it'll be basically allowing them to provide their content freely as a donation to the project, and they get in return rewards the same way they would in Kickstarter. Instead of giving money, they're giving content. So
it's definitely going to be a lot of content when this game comes out. Like
we're hoping,
when it comes out and in the future.
Yes, we're actually, the plans for this are very big. In fact, everybody's really seeing how ambitious the project is.
Oh yeah, that's the way. If I had to describe this project, I have to say ambitious. Like,
Yes,
it's amazing.
It's a very ambitious project. Even on a global scale, it is doing something new. So, in the Philippine context, it's doing something big, but even in the global scale, a lot of people are thinking that it's not going to be easy. But many are confident also that, at least you guys are going to try for it, because nobody's even trying for stuff like this that's this difficult. So we're luckily getting some good traction. Though we're trying to build more awareness now. We're seeing that we still not too many people still know about the game. So we're trying to get a lot more press coverage, a lot more awareness in terms of checking out the Kickstarter page so that they can know what's happening and hopefully they can pledge.
Well, here's one source already. So
Hey, thank you guys.
I do want to ask also
that's
regarding the character customization, getting a little bit deeper into that. Is it going to be a skill-based sort of system, like similar to Diablo, where you pick and choose what
Actually,
skills
it's
you
more
want?
complex than that. I just posted a very detailed character creation update on our page. It's really long, and I think when I wrote it, it's like 5 pages long. It details everything from how you choose your class, your race, how to distribute.
how to scale your chin.
No, not quite, but how to distribute your attributes, what kind of skills, what kind of abilities, edges and flaws, stuff like that. So it's it's very tabletop actually. We were bringing a lot of tabletop experience to the game. So, and the key is for us to try to present it in a way that'll be easier for the players to create. But definitely, it's not as simple as the Diablo system, wherein it's
I think that's key though, is to making it accessible, even very deep, but also very accessible.
Yes. That is the challenge actually for us. Try to make the depth of it still accessible to the less than hardcore players, as you call it.
Well, so, is this definitely you already explained the combat. When it comes to the sound of the game, are we gonna get actual local sounds? I mean, we're gonna background sounds coming from the Philippines, or are you gonna outsource it?
Well, we already weirdly when we started the campaign, I have a list now of 10 composers who's actually worked on games for AAA games who's actually applied to work on the project. So we still don't know what we're gonna do with the sound. But we do have a lot of really talented people who is interested to join the project at this point. And we've told them, guys, you do know our budget is only $100K, and as you see, we're already only budgeting between maybe 10 to 15, maybe 20K at most for music and sound all together. And they're like, yeah, sure, we're still interested. And I guess they really want to get into a project that they want. So I'm like, sure. So what we're gonna do is after the campaign, that's when we'll sit down and sort through all the people who's contacted us. Yeah.
Okay, so there's no actual composer yet that's actually working on the sound for the game.
We have not decided on anybody yet.
Okay.
Some of them has given us some. Some have given us already some samples, actually original music that we could already use. But I'm like, I don't want to use it yet because it might, say that we're gonna use him already.
Yeah. That's understandable.
But we got those already, and they're very good. And there's a lot of them. So that's making me very excited because honestly, sound is our weakest point in our team.
Oh.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is our weakest point. We do not have a sound designer on our team. And, that's why even in our Kickstarter, how will we use the money, a decent percentage of it goes to sound and music.
When it goes to sound, and then I guess are you also looking for someone for sound effects, like the gun sounds?
Yeah, we will.
Do you actually have that already in production or in development, or it's something?
There are some generic. See, the beauty of it is we're using Unity. That means we have access to the Unity asset store. So we can just buy whatever sounds we need that do not need to be very specific or unique.
Public domain sounds.
They're not really public domain sounds. They're actually for sale, but the prices for the sounds are relatively low. So it's very affordable. And with Unity also, there's a lot of plugins. There's a lot of these are the things that we've mentioned it to everybody that we use Unity. We will use the existing plugins, frameworks, and put them all together so we can build things faster, which right now is actually a common practice among Unity developers.
Okay, that's cool. We'll go back to the campaign. What is your idea of the total amount to finish the campaign?
Well, the 100,000 definitely will get us to do what we need, what we promised to do.
No, I mean, how many hours, are we talking about? Is the campaign, the initial campaign, gonna knock out 30 hours of my life, or?
That's possible.
No, I'm talking about the main story, because I'm assuming there's side quests and all that, but in terms of going from the start and all the way to the main story.
The main story is just finding the 35 guys alone is a long path.
So we're definitely going to see a really long sit down of this game.
Yeah,
definitely. Plus with the emergent gameplay that we talked about earlier, that's going to add a lot of time.
That's going to add a lot of time too. That's because a lot of that will be side quests. Most of quests that develop the background of the world. And the reason is for this, by the way, for emergent, we have two gameplay modes. One is the campaign and one is freeform. Campaign, of course, follows the story, and then in freeform, the emergent gameplay becomes more prominent. Everything becomes procedural. The story is not there. You just have a goal, and so you still have the general goal of the world, but It's not about finishing a story now. It's about reaching certain specific goals at the end of the game.
So it's just pretty much like Freeform is exploring and then setting out what you want to do in the world.
Like a sandbox experience.
Like a sandbox-ish kind of thing.
Exactly. It becomes a 4X sandbox game.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I noticed in your project, in the Kickstarter presentation, multiplayer?
Yes, we are planning.
Possible?
Multiplayer. Yes, turn-based team, like in XCOM.
Oh, okay.
Not the best, not the best kind of multiplayer, unfortunately, but
no, but at least is it part of the main package, or it's going to be in the stretch goals, or
stretch goals?
Stretch goals. Okay, cool. Freeform's actually pretty cool. Is Freeform gonna be like? There's not gonna be like something extra. It's gonna be pretty much just like a removal of the main campaign. But are you gonna add more stuff into it to like have a little more incentive?
Well, as the goals are gonna change because when you take out the campaign, you can pretty much do anything. Meaning you can be a bad guy and rule the world.
Okay.
Effectively.
Can we do that in the campaign too?
Like, no. The campaign you can't because you can be a semi-bad guy, but not totally. You know what I mean? You cannot.
Can I say that
campaign Renegade more or less?
Yeah, you'll just be more like Renegade-like, but you're not a bad guy. In free form, there's nothing gonna stop you.
Okay, so you're technically in Rails, but you still have choices to make in the campaign.
Yes.
Okay.
When you go free form, there are no.
Yeah, I'll just join the hell side. I don't care about the heaven.
Yeah. That's the thing. You can actually shift.
I don't like wings.
They've got more fire magic down there.
They got more fire magic.
Yeah, I don't like holy. The art direction's actually another thing I want to talk about because that's the one thing that actually caught my eye. Like you guys have really talented designers there. I saw the initial designs of the characters, the races. That's actually pretty cool how they look. Is that already like the initial plan already of how for example, how the races are going to look, how the characters are going to look?
Initially, yeah. Well, of course, we're still going to tweak it, but that's the direction we're going.
That's the direction already. Okay.
But you can customize it so like you might have like a wolfkin guy, but he looks like a vampire. Well, I mean, to a certain level, right? I mean,
you certain level. Well, there'll be some features that are going to be the same.
Like hairstyles, I guess, and things like that.
Yeah, but we're going to try to... I think one of the things we want to make with the races is we want to make them distinct from each other in terms of how they look. So it's going to be critical that we will be limiting some specific traits or physical traits to a certain class. Like I wouldn't want somebody creating like an angel with all this, a Nephilim with all this other stuff from the other races, and you'll get confused because in the game your race affects the story as well and how people react to you. So it's very important that some cities you won't be able to go in if you're bringing a guy that is not allowed in the city.
Oh wow!
Oh, so like you'll actually have a city where I don't like wolfkins.
Yes, exactly. There is a city that only allows all humans. So you bring a non-human, they will not let you in.
And there's like a half werewolf, half vampire, half angel, half demon. Oh, you got a half of everything.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then we have a new race which I created, which is called the Hunterborn.
Okay.
The Hunterborn is, I call them Mother Nature's defense mechanism against the supernatural.
So they're hippies.
Well, basically, yeah.
Yeah, that nailed it. That's hippies, yeah. At least hippies are actually, after 30 years after the post-apocalypse, they're doing something. They're not just laying around. They're making things happen.
Okay, this is cool. So it's kind of like, on all seriousness, tell us a bit more about these guys.
These guys are basically, it's like, they're equivalent, the closest equivalent I can think of, they're like Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. But not in that case. Okay. Obviously, in Buffy, you're only allowed...
The chosen ones?
The chosen ones, yes. Here, because the supernatural was always... They did not overwhelm the world. Mother Nature never really needed that many. It's always about... Nature always cares about balance. It's always about balance. But with the world being bathed in all these supernatural energies from both heaven and hell, basically there is very little part of the world that has no supernatural energies. So there is a big imbalance. So Mother Nature creates this new race, basically. Well, they used to exist, but in this context, there's now a lot of them because there's a bigger need for them. The thing is, most of the Hunter-born in this game are all young. Since it's only 20 years after the event, that means every major Hunter-born on the loose is about 14 to 18.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So some of the characters that'll be coming in are actually kids. Well, not really kids, but they're like young. They're like 15, and they're the most dangerous characters in the game. Is
this going to be like, are you going to see more races? As the development comes, or are you guys already in a set, like these are the races for this world?
We have more races ready. Like Hunter-born is actually we put it as a stretch goal. We have the Feychild as another stretch goal, which is basically the half-breeds of the Fey folk, the fairy folk or the Fey folk. So there's.
Oh, it's going to be a very interesting lore, definitely.
Yes, we built the world specifically for a tabletop game, so there's a lot of content that we're ready, and we're still trying to build it. There's a lot to be built, but so far we got the main story ready, main backgrounds ready,
all set up. Yeah. The locations in this game, is it going to be? Because I just noticed like Las Vegas. Is it going to be in terms of the world itself? Is it going to be like an open world, or is it going to be like a segmented open world, if you know what I mean? Like you go to certain portions of the game.
I guess the closest is segmented open world. Take note all the locations we mentioned them. Those are all locations on Purgatory.
On Purgatory.
Yes.
Is it literally just limited to that area, or
for this game? Yes.
For this game, okay.
But many of the preparations we did for this game was for the MMO, so a lot of that is ready. So we have expansions to different parts of the world, which are different, I guess in this case, expansion levels. Normally in the game, they would just be another area to open up, but in an MMO. But here they are expansion levels already. So like the islands of New York and like Paris and all these other places that you get to visit. Manila, actually, of course. But
please put Manila.
We have to. I have an idea what I want to do with it, so I'm pretty curious what.
Oh, I'm actually pretty curious to know what you're gonna do with that. Like we're gonna have a Manila as like what a possible starting area. I don't know. Like I'll leave that to you. I don't know how you want to do it.
It'd be cool though because Manila has not been really treated all too well yet in the gaming world.
Yeah,
even any entertainment media, we haven't been treated well.
I don't think I'll be treating it that well too.
Well, it's post-apocalyptic, so I think you guys are okay.
Yeah. You can kind of get away with it there.
Yeah, it's fine. Wow, there's actually a lot of things going.
There is definitely so. This is the first game you've got going in Graywalkers. Like, what other things would you like to do with the world? Is the MMO?
Are we seeing? Are we seeing this as a trilogy, or is just something like this is the first game and we're considering others in the future?
Technically now a trilogy, but down into smaller bits. Because
will the other games also be like turn-based, or is the MMO, for example, sort of still there? Waiting.
Actually, in reality, we've actually even built a trading card game based in this world already, but we just haven't really released it, but we have the framework ready. So by next year, since we've been doing so much art, we can probably release the trading card version.
Wow, you're covering all your bases in this world.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like different platforms.
What we've done is, initially we didn't think we were going to be able to do this now, so we started building smaller games. But eventually we realized there was so much content, and then we might as well make the main game, and then Kickstarter happened, and I said, okay, screw it, we're gonna go after the main kahuna, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And then we'll build on those smaller games later on.
That's pretty awesome. Since you're talking about like what you're gonna tackle, I noticed in your Kickstarter, one of your stretch goals are actually you're considering Ouya and Wii U.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm actually pretty curious to why those two platforms and why you didn't consider, like, for example, the current gens like PS3 and the Xbox 360. Or is it because it's easier, or like what is the reason for having Ouya and Wii U?
The first reason is cost. The license
cheaper.
The licenses to get accredited for PlayStation and Xbox is very high. 100,000 will not be enough.
Oh wow!
Is this even on like the PlayStation Network if you go full digital, or the Xbox Live? Is it
I
still
think for Xbox you can, but you have to be more. Like after we release this, we can probably go to them and say, "Hey, we want to build our game on yours now." Which they'll probably say, "Okay, we'll deal with you now." Because they do choose who they work with as well. They're very choosy. They're not very open to indie. But if we're coming from this position later on, when we've released this game already in different platforms, then yes, it'll be easier. But the reason we're going for Ouya and Wii U, actually it was just initially Ouya, because Ouya's, we've already been,
it's a free platform.
It's a free, technically, and we're prepared, we're releasing some games on Ouya, in the next few months. So, we already know more or less what to do with it. And it's, heavily supported also by Unity. And then Wii U, some guys from the Kickstarter told us, why don't you guys cover Wii U? They hooked us up with the guy who wants to get indie into Wii U more.
Oh, they need that so bad.
Yeah, they need it so bad because they're saying, and so I said, okay, fine, we'll put it as a stretch goal. And they said they're going to make it easy for us to get in. And Unity supports Wii U very easily. In fact,
I was pretty kind of curious when I saw Wii U, because that's Nintendo. Like, seeing more games like this or indie games in Nintendo is actually unheard of. Like, even for me, like, indie, like, games like that, like post-apocalyptic in Nintendo, like, that's why I was pretty curious. Like, is it easier to get in?
It is easier to get in now because they want,
they need
indie games. They need people they're building a market, and so we were told it's going to be easy. And, preliminary talk seems okay. We'll see how it goes. Since it's a stretch goal still kind of far away. I'll start worrying about it as you get closer to it.
I was just pretty curious. But I hope you guys hit the Wii U, because that'll be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I hope so
I was just curious about the whole process of actually converting a game into, like, these kinds of consoles, these kinds of platforms like Wii U, Sony.
With Unity, we can actually deploy on everything.
Okay.
It's that flexible.
It's that flexible.
Wow.
I could have a web-based version of this. If I wanted to, I could have PS3, Xbox, 360 on it easily. Assuming I could afford it, yes. But easily, yes, it is. The design of the engine is meant to be really deployed to these platforms very easily. That's why everybody loves it. And it's cheap too. The engine is cheap. The Pro version is like $1,500 only. And that's cheap considering the power that the
amount of things you can do with it.
The amount of things you can do. And at the rate
the assets you have access to.
Yes. At the rate it's going, it's actually a contender against Unreal already. And in the next few years, it will be at that same level with the price range 1/10 of what it would cost you to get an Unreal license.
Oh, okay. So that's, is this like pretty much your, the game studio, this is your main game engine when it comes to developing everything in
we focused ourselves. Yes, we focused ourselves to become a Unity-based platform studio.
Okay.
We foresaw 2 years ago when we started it, we foresaw the growth of it, and we were not wrong, luckily. And now it's, like I said, it's the biggest engine in the world. There's now 2 million developers.
We have a lot of developers.
There's now 2 million developers on Unity alone.
On Unity alone.
Yeah, there are now 2 million developers in Unity alone. So, it's crazy. Cool. It's really going crazy. And they're trying to make the game engine AAA level quality already. And which is starting to be.
It's getting up there.
It's getting there. They're bringing AAA quality now to tablets. They're the ones bringing it there. So, they're not to the point for PC because the numbers, the quality is much higher. But in terms of tablets, Unity now brings pretty much the best quality in terms of 3D graphics for tablets, mobile.
For mobile.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Well, Graywalkers Purgatory, it's sounding like again, very ambitious, very exciting. To hear all those. Very scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's starting to be really scary. Half of me is actually scary that we're actually gonna make it.
Well, I hope you guys make it, because that'll be a pretty big thing.
That's a good problem to have, yeah. And
it is a good problem to have, but it's one of those. I'm starting to feel the pressure from the community. And, you know, back then you can do whatever you want and you don't hear anything about it. Hear every little thing, you know, like some guy would say, "Oh, what? You're going multiplayer? I don't like that." Or, "What? You're going mobile? You're going on phones?" "No, we're not going on phones. We're going only on
tablets." That, my friend, is the internet.
Yeah, so we're like, oh my god.
Like, as much as you put one thing, there's always one person that will bitch about another. But that's one thing to show that there are actually people who are actually passionate about the project. So that's actually pretty cool in that sense.
We're very happy that we have some very passionate supporters. We have our biggest supporter gave us $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw that.
Congrats.
You have one guy already who's getting everything.
Yep.
I want this made.
But I think, you know, it's also good from a point of view of the industry. You know, you're basically being a pioneer here. So, there's probably a lot of pressure as well on that side of things, because whether or not this, you know, fingers crossed that this works out. But if it works out, that'll be a huge boost to the overall Philippine gaming industry as well.
Which is exactly one of our goals. I've been telling the people, even when I send press releases now to the local news, I tell them, you know what, if we succeed, we are gonna cement that, you know, the Philippines can be a real world-class development group. Not just outsourcers, but real game development.
Yeah, because I think it's about time we actually branch out and, like, you know what, we make the assets, let's just make our own thing.
Exactly.
With our talents. Because, like I said, I keep saying it, we have such talented people in different branches, like art, programming, whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
And it would be amazing to see an actual industry, like different studios in the Philippines, creating, I don't know, a game in Xbox One or something. Like, and then, I don't know, it's pretty exciting. Like, that's why when I saw Graywalkers Purgatory, I was actually, wow, this might be actually like the start of what I was thinking.
I hope so.
The studio, so.
I think the biggest problem in the local industry is fear.
You think it's fear?
It is fear because, like, for us, I had to bite the bullet. I had to give up like almost 100K worth of projects to be able to do this, because there was no way I would be able to take those projects and be able to do this. Because
are you saying fear or risk? Like, they don't want to just take the risk or the jump?
Fear of taking the risk.
Fear
of taking the risk. Because for them, an outsourcing project, I always ask them, all the other players in the local industry, why aren't you guys trying? They want to go for the sure thing. Because an outsourced project, most of the game companies locally are all booked up for the rest of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's just outsourcing.
That's all outsourcing. They're all booked out. The good thing is, many are starting to dabble at least. Back then it was 0, but now they're dabbling like 10%, 20% are being shelved. Okay, let's try our own stuff. But let's not give everything up. In our case, we decided, okay, we're not totally giving it up. We're doing 70-30 now. We shifted from 80-20 and then it became 50-50 and now we're shifting 70-30, 70 of our own and 30 for outsource. Just to keep money rolling in for the company. And hopefully with the Kickstarter, we won't even have to receive difficult projects. We'll just get some just a little extra to do other projects for some of the other team members. Because not everybody from our company is on the Graywalkers team. Many of them are on other projects, smaller projects.
Like a freelancing thing?
No, they're full-time, but they're doing other projects.
Oh, the other projects. So when it comes to Kickstarter, like, you're technically like the first project, locally, project that's making a video game. How's the process of going through Kickstarter?
Well, the very, very first process is you gotta find somebody to represent you in Kickstarter.
Oh, that has to happen.
That has to happen because, well, in our case, we represented ourselves because we put up a U.S. company in Vegas to represent us long term. So you have to have either UK, Canada, or US. You have to have US bank account, US tax data.
Oh, so it's Kickstarter is technically just not a world thing. It's actually
not a world thing.
It's still a Bay region. Okay.
Yes. It's very specific to that. Unlike Indiegogo, which is global, for them it's just limited to the US, UK, and Canada. At least in terms of creating one. Because they do check a lot of like what, to qualify for it.
Okay.
So once you finish all that, then you can proceed on preparing all the other stuff. One thing we learned from this is no matter how much we prepared, we are still behind by so much.
Because as much as like you give it your 100% preparedness, I guess.
It's never
there's
enough.
always something. It's never enough. Okay.
It's never enough.
That's a project in a nutshell.
Yeah. So be prepared. Press marketing is very important. It is the lifeblood of your project. No matter how good your project is, you will die if you do not have good marketing. Unless you are a name, unless you have a name, then that speaks for itself. But if you are nobody, starting out, marketing is very important. You have to market 3 to 4 weeks before you launch your Kickstarter, which we did not do. We actually planned to do it, but we ended up not being able to do it because we were preparing so much to market. We needed materials to market with, which we couldn't do. And then at the same time, we had all our other projects that was getting in the way, all these other things. So preparation is very key.
Yeah, the game industry in the Philippines, I want to get your points on how you think it's going to are we going to be we were making our own stuff, but we're going to go more of an online sense, or are we actually going to make our own stuff for for example, platforms, indies? What do you think is the shift?
I think right
in
now,
this year,
everybody's going mobile. One, it's cost effective.
Yeah, definitely mobile is pretty big.
Yeah, that is where everybody's moving right now. Mobile is the direction for all the studios. If they did go into any project, it will all be mobile. Majority.
Is it mobile or tablets, to be more specific?
Mobile phones and tablets as well. For us, we only limited Graywalkers to tablets because the experience wouldn't be good on a phone. So we decided, forget it. It's not worth the effort.
Not enough for one thumb or something.
Yep, exactly. So, but in general, for the local industry, they will start creating games for mobile, definitely. And there are a lot being created now, actually.
It's pretty cool. Well, that's pretty interesting, the whole Graywalkers Purgatory. Will, is there anything you want to mention?
No, I think we pretty much we got more or less everything we want to cover. Migs, do you have any
relatively more than
no, I actually don't. He explained a lot of what I was already.
I ramble a lot. Sorry.
But it just shows your passion to it. Cool. Yeah, because it actually shows your passion to the project.
But yeah, that seems to be it. Russell, what have you been playing any other games lately besides working on Graywalkers? What do you usually play?
What do you do to take away the stress? Do you play more games, or you actually not do it?
No, I try to play. I still try to play games, but in my case, I haven't been able to play a game. I always say I'm gonna play games. I have 100 games lined up to be played that I have not touched.
Everybody's backlog game.
Yeah, we're backlogged on all platforms, and I'm kind of worried because by next month there'll be there'll be 2 new platforms to play on. So.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, we have the PS4 and the Xbox One hitting together, and that's gonna be a crazy. It's gonna be actually pretty interesting year for the gaming industry.
Very interesting. Another thing, actually, we're very excited about for next year is wearable tech and how it will apply to gaming.
The last piece of wearable tech I remember wearing were those calculator watches or those.
Well, next year there's a lot of new stuff coming out. We ourselves are geared up to doing. It's in the planning stages already, but I planned it out since last May. I had it planned last May. We're gonna at least do one mind-controlled game. Yes.
Is this with Google Glasses or something?
No, it will be using something like NeuroSky. It's basically a neural-based controller. Yes, I know, it's so cool.
Wait, you can move things with your mind? Is that what you're saying?
With your mind, yes. We've tested it already. I've tested I've tested. It's scary.
Okay.
I've seen the base platform run. In fact, it also supported by Unity. That's why I chose one that was supported by Unity. So it's really cool. It's simple. It measures beta waves and stuff like that. So your controllers are basically the points in your brain waves that are distinct. So
okay, screw Oculus Rift. I can go with that. And wow, okay.
Actually, somebody's doing a combination of Oculus Rift and this technology.
Because Oculus Rift is the visual.
The visual, and this is the controller. You don't touch anything.
Is it more responsive than the Kinect?
I don't have a little problem with that because I've always wanted to have a controller, though. That's gonna be my problem because I always wanted to have a controller on hand when playing a game.
You can control, like for example, the controller is like of course, for moving around, you'll still need your controllers. Like the game I tested a game wherein it was a 4-player. It was multiplayer PvP. We were in this arena. There were 4 of us. You had to wear those things on your head, and then there's a clip to your ear. And we had to run around the arena. Inside the arena were several trucks, pickup trucks, and the idea was to kill your opponent or hit your opponent
with a truck.
With a truck by your mind. So you had to run behind the truck, aim it at and then think it, and then the truck will fly towards the person.
Ooh. That's the starting demo. You throw trucks at those 2 people. That's a weird concept. Like, it couldn't be gladiators fighting in an arena. It had to be trucks.
That was the complex.
Why not?
This one, all you had to think about was it was all about focus. So the moment you would reach your pinnacle of your focus, the truck would fly. So it would measure things like that.
That's some crazy stuff right
there. The other thing I tested was actually a racing game. Wherein your speed was determined how focused you were.
Wait, so where's this tech based? Is this tech based in another, what country or?
There's several actually. I think this one, Neurosky, it's American, I think, if not Japanese. It's one or the other, or a combination of both. But there's a lot of other technologies. There's a lot of neural controllers out there now. There's about 3 or 4 that's come out. And then another one we're looking at, which I just ordered a few months ago, was the Mayo, which is electrical impulse controllers. I know, it sounds all science fiction now. It's a band that you wear on your arm, and it will measure the electrical impulses by moving specific finger gestures together. So by a combination of gestures, it translates into different controllers. It's now being used actually for controlling drones, but you can now use it on your mobile devices, your phone, your tablets, your other controllers that will support it.
That's actually pretty crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of new tech out there that's really scary and sci-fi, but now it's reality.
But it's not, they're not, these kinds of like neural, headsets, bands, they're not in a stage where they can actually promote it. It's kind of,
they're actually commercial already.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
Commercial released. But they're not making too much headway yet.
They're
not mainstream yet because there's not enough developers to support the devices.
Oh, I'm definitely going to put a link on that one.
It's probably expensive right now.
Trucks with your mind, man.
The devices are expensive, but not extremely expensive. Like a Mayo is like the neural control. The Mayo is about $150. The Neurosky is, I think, about $150 as well, or something less.
It's affordable.
Yeah,
it's really affordable. That's like an arcade stick.
Yep.
Did they actually mention how much the Oculus Rift will come out?
$300.
$300. Okay. Well, actually, I would like to buy it.
I was supposed to pre-order, and then I realized, that's a bit expensive.
No, but I think Russell has a good point. The fact that there's not enough. I mean, you could buy this cool device that you can move stuff with your mind, but there's nothing to use it with.
Yeah, that is the problem right now for these devices.
So you'd still rather get the Oculus Rift because you know for sure with at least $300.
It'll work on anything, yeah.
It'll be a pretty cool side tech where like I'm playing a FPS and I just, instead of pressing a damn button, I just think about throwing a grenade and it happens. Like I'd like to use that in that aspect. Like I need to reload. I don't want to press that. I don't want to put my finger on the R.
Reloading, yeah.
I don't want to think about there. Because I think that was the failure about Kinect, for example, that new tech in Xbox 360, where they try to make it full on Kinect. Like you screw the controller, you just get out of the couch, start doing things with your body, and it didn't really do much. Like, I would actually prefer if the Kinect was only used, like, for example, if I do like a grenade toss, I can actually do that in Call of Duty. Like, just those simple things, not a full-on, you have a Dragon Ball Z Kinect game and you can just start acting like Goku and crap like that. So.
Yeah. Well, I think we're covered pretty much everything. So, Russell, thanks so much for being on the show with us today. That was a really good interview. Guys, if you want to check out, if you guys want to check out Graywalkers Purgatory, it's on Kickstarter. You can search for it. Just type in Graywalkers Purgatory. We'll provide a link as well.
Yep, we're going. I think the official. Well, I think when you search it, it's Dreamlords Digital.
Dreamlords Digital / Graywalkers.
Yeah, or you can just search for Graywalkers. It should come out.
It should come out. Okay, there. And then, if you guys want to support it, like, please support this pretty awesome project.
Support the Filipino effort.
Yep. And it's also on Facebook, facebook.com/Graywalkers. So that's there as well.
You like them, check out their updates. The Kickstarter is going to stay up until November 28th.
Yeah, we still have 24 days to go, more or less, give or take.
Yeah. Do you guys have actually plans of like ways for other supporters to support you after the Kickstarter, for example?
Yes, we will. We're actually finalizing now our PayPal account so that people from other countries who do not support credit cards, not supported by Amazon, basically can start donating. And then after
you also have an official website for Graywalkers.
We do.
Well.
Graywalkers.com.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So do check that out as well.
Yeah. So when after post Kickstarter, fail or success, we will probably continue to receive donations as well through our PayPal account. So we can see, continue building funding for it. And at the same time, we will start our initiative of crowdsourcing content. Initiative. So we can actually build the game even we don't have much money if we have people who are willing to support us.
The crowd content, like the content coming from the community, is that built in the game or is it going to be separate?
No, it's a separate initiative that we're doing.
Okay.
Of course, we have to facilitate it. We're now negotiating with Unity to have it partially done on their site.
Okay.
Which the same way that Lord British and Brian Fargo did, but on another hand, we're also building our own system for that so that we can facilitate ourselves the transfer of the assets and all of this. We're putting our skills in the back, on the back end, to good use, so that we can continue doing that even after the Kickstarter.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Definitely, if you guys heard like from the start all the way to the end, this is definitely a very ambitious game. So much great ideas going together for Graywalkers Purgatory. Russell, thanks for coming by.
Thank you, guys.
Anything you want to say to the audience, Russell?
Nothing much except, guys, I hope you guys can visit the Kickstarter site and support us. If you do and we succeed, we'll definitely come up with a game that you're going to love and you're going to enjoy for a long time. 100 hours probably is going to be short for this. So hopefully, based on what we're planning, well, we're hoping there's a lot of things we plan to do. That small things that will probably extend the gameplay. And
when you say 100, for sure, because 100 hours, there's definitely people who like wants a game that goes past 100 hours. There's always that one person. So
no, but the campaign will probably be less than that. But if you want to play 100 hours, there's still a lot to do.
Yeah, just like a Skyrim or whatever open world. Yeah. Like I think Skyrim was like 15 hours if you just do the main story or something like that.
Oh, I went through the main story. Yeah, it wasn't that long, but there was all the other stuff that you could do.
Yeah, but do check them out. We'll put all the necessary information you need, like the videos, the pre-alpha stages, on the post that we're gonna create. I'm sure you're seeing it right now, but we're gonna put all the details there on the post. And that's Graywalkers Purgatory. Thanks again, Russell.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, everyone, we'll see you next week for episode 9.
Thank you very much for having me here, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Russell.
Next week we're gonna be talking a little bit about this generation with the new generation of consoles coming in. So
yeah, once the next it's not gonna, the next gen's not gonna come out right away.
Nope, but it is the
Especially not in
end
this
of, it is
country.
the end of an era for sure. So we're gonna take a little retrospective down memory lane, look at the Xbox 360, PS3, and the Wii from launch up to now, and their ups and downs, and hopefully
Yeah, the red ring of death, yellow light, all those problems, all like the PSN shutdown. We're all gonna talk all about it because this is actually the longest console
generation.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be interesting. So we're going to talk about that next week, and then the week after, it's all going to be next gen, all next gen talk. You actually saw the lineup. Well, we'll talk about that later because it's actually horrible, the PS4 lineup.
yeah,
I think it's horrible. So we'll tackle that later.
next week, I guess.
Third week of November, I think. So, yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next week.
Take care, guys.
See ya.
Bye.